Hello and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast. This is Brendan, your host for the show. Joining me for a feature pod as the season's finished. We'll have some Spurs celebs through the summer. First up is Flav from the Fighting Cock. How you doing, man?
Very well. Thank you for having me on. Looking forward to chatting about all things Spurs. I don't do enough of that.
The thing is, we're in a good place right now, so I'm kind of enjoying the Spurs chat.
100%. Best I've felt in years. Even I would even say going into some of the Pochettino period, where towards the end it was quite difficult, even though we were at that Champions League run. The feeling of contentment and just being able to when I think about our football club and just relax. I can't remember feeling this good about Spurs in a long time, probably 2016-17, and we talk about it and we get ridiculed for talking about that season. But it just feels good, and it feels like there's a plan, and we've got the right coach, we've got the right transfer policy now, we've got the right director of football, we've got the right players. It feels great. It really, really does.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like it feels, and it feels like we deserve it as well. Like it doesn't feel like with Poch, you kind of always felt we were punching above our weight. Whereas now I'm a bit like with Conte and with the team that we've got and the players that we've held on to, the players we've recruited. We fucking deserve it. We deserve to be
also like the stadium and the training facilities. All of that plays into it. I know there's fans out there that just they rate Daniel Levy's job purely on how many good players we can put on the pitch. But if you think of what the brand is as Tottenham Hotspur right now, in how globally significant that brand is, and I hate talking about it in that way, but it's just the way football is now. That how significant that brand is. That you look at the stadium and it's the best in the world, and it's been open 4 years and it still remains and looks so fresh. And the training facilities that these potentially or would be world-class players are going to be playing in. There's so much about Spurs right now that is deliberate, that we're at a stage that we were supposed to be based on the plans that have been laid out by Daniel Levy and Enoch, I think. And when you say we deserve it, it is no surprise that Perisic is choosing Tottenham over Juve or Chelsea because of what he has in front of him. When you've got Conte calling you up, who you played brilliantly with an under in Inter Milan, and you've got Paratici, who is so far has been world class in his delivery of players. And the stadium and whatnot, then it just feels right. It's not a surprise to me that he's turned down Chelsea and Juve and Inter to come to Spurs. It doesn't feel weird, and that goes into what you're saying about it that we deserve it.
Yeah, like it's been the last few weeks have been roller coaster. Like I was in Sao Paulo for the North London derby, and I was watching it in a pub with other Spurs fans. That one of which is the Irish consulate, basically the consul general. And yeah, just the feeling and that victory. And Perisic said it in his interview recently. It's like, I watched that game, and it was clear then that that Spurs would pip Arsenal to it. We still had to rely on Newcastle to turn up, and thank fuck they did. Like it was. Did you watch the Newcastle game as well?
Of course, yeah, I did watch it. And he's 100% right. And it's easy to say that in hindsight, but he he knows so much more about football, being entrenched in it from every minute of his being, probably from about 6 years old in Croatia to where he is now. So he understands football better than all of us. And he knew how significant that demolishment of Arsenal was from Tottenham. So he knew that their spirit had been broken. And what's beautiful about this is that we broke it. We were the team that destroyed them. Do you remember they were 4 points ahead of us going into that game?
Yeah, they'd have got top four if they'd have won.
100%, and they were celebrated there and then. So that's enough pressure on us. The pressure was more on us than it was on them. All they needed was a draw, and it pretty much guaranteed them. Although it didn't, but the psychology behind it would have meant that it would have been hard for us to get over it. We'd have been in the familiar position as a Spurs fan, going, well, like if we win these games and the results go away. It wasn't that. When we beat them, it didn't matter what came next, because we knew that they were fragile and they broke under the pressure of the Tottenham support. They broke under the pressure of the quality of our team, and we ran out 3-0 winners. But and a lot of them will look to the Ben White sort of sending off, which was in there, right? Sorry, holding. I've got Ben White on the brain at the moment for some reason.
He stands out, doesn't he? He's fucking glowing.
Like, well, he's like a bronze, just like a leatherhead running around. It's so well tanned. Anyway, so it was just in a situation where we'd broken their spirit. We did that to them, and they weren't coming back from it. And so the Newcastle game was, as nervous as I was, it felt inevitable from the first kick of the game. And what Arsenal fans might sort of look to towards the end of the season, or the last game of the season when they beat Everton 5-1, that Lee Judges actually said it, and I've become I wouldn't say we were friends, but I am quite fond of him. He is a nice geezer off camera, very very respectful, very courteous, and you can talk about football with him, and it ain't like talking to a normal Arsenal fan. So I'm just caveating that with the fact what I'm about to say is that when he said on AFTV that it doesn't matter if you beat Everton 5-1 last game of the season, where all you have to do is win, and there's no pressure from a team that's already safe. You got to win when it matters at Tottenham, at Newcastle, and they didn't. Not only did they not win, they got battered in both games.
Yeah.
So
fuck them. It was great, and we'll touch on the overlap which happened last week. You're usually there, but it was Bardi repping us this time, and he did really well. We'll talk about that in a bit. But that final game, the Norwich game, like I was still, I was listening to the Fighting Cock, obviously, and Ricky was saying that he was hungover. And I was like, I fucking was as well. And it was the combination of the hangover and the nerves in my stomach. And I was like, what if we don't do this? Like, it sort of eased. I think around 3-0, I was like, right, I can unclench my anus now. I'm all right. But
yeah.
I was still nervous. Were you confident with the Norwich game?
So I was in a position where I was on holiday. I went to Centre Parks with the kids and a couple of like family friends and whatnot. So I was in a situation where I wasn't able to watch the game properly. I had it on my phone, but the stream I had kept buffering. I was in a sports bar in Centre Parks that had the Liverpool and Man City games streaming everywhere. Like you couldn't look for TVs. So I can't say that I was as nervous as I would have been if I was just sitting in front of my TV watching it.
Yeah.
But the lead up to it, I was thinking, this is what happens. We've had it before. We had it with Newcastle. Newcastle were relegated. Like we were really transcending at that point. We were playing really good football under Pochettino. We had a really young team that was going places, and then the season after, we really did go places. But taking all those learnings from those experiences, I thought, well, we can. Of course, we're not going to beat Norwich because this is Spurs. This is what we do. But what we didn't take into account is this is Antonio Conte Spurs. This is players that have learned from those experiences. These are players that aren't impacted by what's gone on before, and a manager that isn't impacted by what's gone on before. So, as soon as Kulusevski scored that first goal, and the amazing poetry that Bentancur was the guy who set him up, and given the fact that both those players have had such an influential role in Spurs' the change that we saw at Spurs from January, it was poetry. They're Norwich shit. Like there's no world where Spurs get beaten by Norwich, but we know football. We know the surprises that can be conjured, and so I understand completely the nerves of anybody going into that game, and it was playing into my mind over the weekend, and I put it to the back. But as soon as the game started, you realise actually there's no chance they can beat us. Yeah,
I was like that. I didn't want to rub it into the goons after the Newcastle game. I was like, I actually texted. I did. I ain't saying shit till Sunday. I'm holding my nerve, my reserve till Sunday. Sunday comes, then I'm going all out.
Yeah, but they already know it by that point. They know it by Sunday. The best time to get them is be bold and arrogant before, when they feel like they've still got a chance. And it comes back to bite you. Don't get me wrong. Like I've gone early a couple of times on Twitter when we've been beating Arsenal. Like when they went 1-0 up and we just get back to 2-1. Eric Dyer did that shush run, and then they ended up like slapping us in the second half. But I went big on Twitter before. You got to go early. You have to. No one it doesn't matter if you get shamed later on or people get you later on. They won't remember that. What they will remember is if you shove it down their throat when they're hurting. that's my because you can turn your phone off. You can look away. That's the way I deal with these things. I don't agree with waiting for the inevitability. You have to grab them when they're hurting. But that's
it's risky, but like you said, I mean, we've been enjoying this. And last week, Bardi went to the overlap, and I analysed it twice. I think at the beginning, I thought it was trying a bit too hard to out AFTV, but like listening to him this week, like they were after him, like they were going at him, and they sort of put him on edge, put him on guard. So I sort of understood that he did go in 2-footed on them. But Ty, like I don't know how you are able to interact with him, because you've done backs and forths with Ty before. He's a grown. What do his grandkids think? Like he's a grown man.
Does he have grandkids?
I don't know. I assume so.
All right. Okay. So I mean, he's 52 years old. He should know better. Oh man, it's a big question, because you like on a level when you're dealing with him and by say working with him, like you're talking about things like Lad Bible and Sky, where it's Sky Bet, where it's it is work. Like I know we're just going there talking about football, but you're traveling, from in my instance, like a 5-hour train journey to get there, and then a 5-hour train journey back on the same day to do the overlap. And then when you get there, you're being just thrown off. What I wouldn't say thrown off, but he's doing everything he can to disrupt what should be a conversation between two sets of fans. But that's his USP. That's why he gets a job. That's why he gets booked, is because he's fucking mad. Yeah, I don't know. All I put it down to is, and I'm not surprised by it, I put it down to the fact that Arsenal fans don't have a football club that they don't understand football in the way that we understand football, in the way that almost every other fan of every other club understands football. You won't find someone like Ty supporting Mansfield, Huddersfield, Norwich, any team that hasn't been previously successful. His experiences through his time watching watching Arsenal, rather, it has been largely successful. And he joined Arsenal Football Club. Imagine, and this is what a lot of them are doing. A lot of Arsenal fans are doing. They're joining their club and following them, and they may have a fallow period. You imagine he's 52, so he's probably starting watching Arsenal around the early 80s, maybe late 70s, where things are all right. Football there's a huge ebb and flow about the game back then. And then they start winning. They win the league at Anfield on the last day of the season. Michael Thomas scores. Then
Wenger years.
Even the George Graham years were pretty. They're pretty good as well. And then the Wenger years as well. And so what happens is with Arsenal fans, and Ty is like the epitome of this, is that they realize, or they don't realize actually, that there's nothing to supporting Arsenal other than what happens on the pitch. There's nothing to it. There's just if Arsenal were good, then we're fine. If they're bad, then we just revert back to times where we were winning trophies. So they haven't finished above us. 6 years on the bounce, they haven't finished above us. And all they do is talk about trophies, because they can't revert to where we do, is look at, all right, you may win trophies, but we'll always be a better football club than you because you're born out of some horrendous traditions. You're born out of a fucking armory that was responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. That's Arsenal Football Club. So they've got nothing to fall back on, is my point. And it breeds characters like DT, like Troops, like who are we talking about? Ty. And unfortunately, because of things like AFTV, they're thrown into the spotlight. these are the most extreme versions of Arsenal fans. And I'm sure there are many Arsenal fans that are pretty normal, just get on with their day. But what the explosion of Arsenal fan TV with these characters has meant that they've become just points of interest. So it's unfair on Ty, but at the same time, he has a responsibility to understand that there's repercussions for his actions, and that is that people are starting to get onto him. And I do worry about his mental health.
Yeah, no, I think Bardi handled it very well when he just kept going at him. And Bardi was like, "What have you won? What have you won?" And Bardi was like, "More football games than you."
No,
that's Bardi.
He did fantastic. He did fantastic. He always will. He's very intelligent and quick, Bardi. And we had so I was supposed to go on it, and I couldn't because of work and other bits. For me to get from London, where I live in Wiltshire to Manchester is very difficult, and I was working in the morning, so it's impossible. And they asked us for people to come on who would do do a job and serve. But they I don't know if I should be really honest here, but they said, "This is what we're going to do. Have you got any recommendations?" And I said, "Do Bardi," as opposed to what they were recommending.
Okay.
Bardi smashed it. He absolutely smashed it. He was quality.
Yeah. No, that's the thing, like with like you say, with Spurs fans, that it's people like you in the public and Bardi that you're not dickheads, which is great. Like for the sort of normal Spurs fan to see you guys sitting next to people like Ty and Robbie, it's great. So we did talk about Conte. I just want to touch on him quickly now. Like, what a difference he's made in 6 months. He did the whole explosion around the Burnley game when it looked like he was going to walk. I'll admit I was a bit like, well, fuck him then. Just. But in a way, and he's explained it since, because I just didn't like the feeling that he was doing us a favour by being our manager. But at the end of the day, he probably is to a certain degree anyway. In the he could go elsewhere. We're good for him now, but what do you think of Conte?
100% the same thing. I did feel like there were times I was like, if you don't want to be here, if you don't want to work with these group of players, if they're not good enough for what you want to do after 2 months of being in charge, then maybe this isn't the right club for you. Maybe your ideas of what your players should do with our current squad is so far below what you think it should be, then maybe the correct thing should be that you should go. But in hindsight, given the explanation he gave, and you remember when he did that, the fallout was that as Spurs fans we have to deal with fans and the constant narrative from the media that Conte doesn't want to be there. So we're having to deal with that. But in his head, he's such a genius. And you've seen the improvement, but it's astronomical. The change in Tottenham from when he took over, or moreover, 2 weeks before he took over, moreover, 24 hours before he took over, when we just got slapped by United 3-0. The change is unreal. So you took his explanation later as, all right, fucking hell, he knew what he was doing. I'm not 100% sure that it was. I'm not sure 100% believe him. I'm sure he was being emotional and truthful, and he probably did think maybe I'm not the right man for the job because these players are so shit. Maybe that is true. Whatever, it doesn't matter really. We're just talking and debating and trying to analyze his comments. But whatever it is, from where we were to where we are, is hugely different. And Daniel Levy and Paratici have to take a massive part in it. I think moreover Paratici, but Daniel Levy for giving him free reins to run the football inside of the football club. But none of that matters. No matter how much freedom Paratici has to sign players, if you don't have the main man, which is the manager or the head coach, you live and die by how good your head coach is. Yeah. And Conte is like, I love him. I absolutely fucking love him. as much as Pochettino, I love him, and because of recency bias, probably a little bit more right now. And you're thinking about what's happening in the summer and signing Perisic and what might come, and the fact we've issued this injection of 150 million pounds, which means fundamentally we don't have to sell anyone to buy, which is significant. Most teams do have to do those things. They have to sell to buy. So it's this is all Daniel Levy and Joe Louis, if he's even interested in Tottenham, they don't just essentially put 150 million pound of their own money into a football club and they get something back. They get an extra percentage of a share in Tottenham back, and really to them it means nothing. Like 150 million pound in a bank plus a share at Tottenham, probably more valuable that they did that because the club will continue to grow, and they'll get that back. But what they actually did is take cash out of their pockets, not as a charity, but they took cash out their pockets when they didn't necessarily need to. They could have just bubbled along like this forever. It would have made no difference. But what they've seen as an opportunity with Conte to now is the time to inject the cash. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And they've done it. And so we should be excited.
Yeah, it looked like good timing. It looked almost PR-ish because I don't think they had to announce it. So, but again, I'm neither here nor there in terms of the ENIC out debate. I'm just, they're our owners and we have to stick by them. And so
I think you're mad if you want them out. The progression at the football club since they took over they had an ownership of the club from 2001, but they only started their controlling. They only became the main. What's the word I'm looking for? The main owners, the main shareholders in where they became the controlling members in 2006, and in 2006 seemed to coincide with exactly when Spurs started to walk upstairs. Arneson bringing in untold players. So you can see the direct correlation between when Daniel Levy and ENIC got involved to where we are now. It's been slow, it's been steady, but it has been consistent. And while obviously we all want the best players to play on the pitch, there's sometimes a plan that needs to be played out that may not be the one you want, but we find ourselves in this situation now and you just have to enjoy it. And let's not attack Daniel Levy, ENIC right now. Let's just enjoy what potentially is in front of us. Doesn't matter what's happened before. And everything that's happened before has led us to this point. So just enjoy it.
Yeah, it's very philosophical. Yeah, but it's true. Like we are in a very good place right now. We've got the best manager that we can get. We've got
arguably one of the best in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and on Perisic, so I mean, just looking at his role of honours. So he's won the Champions League. He's won 2 Bundesligas, 2 German Cup, a German Super Cup, Serie A, Italian Cup, Italian Super Cup. I think it's a great signing. Like he's fair enough, but and again that correlates with us having that manager. And again, it kind of reassured me that Conte's not that much of an arsehole, because people say that he may fall out with players and stuff, but Perisic played under him before and was desperate to come back and play for him again. So I think that's an indication that Conte's not this monster that he's sometimes sort of drawn out to be. But anyway, about Perisic, what's your thoughts?
Ecstatic, like super. We've signed a player that improves our first team, and that's it. It's not about what he's selling for the years. It's not about whether or not he can fit into a system. We're not talking about potential here. We're talking about a player who's the best left wing back in Serie A last year. Bear in mind, we just signed the best centre back in Serie A last season in Romero. If you look at the situation where we have players in their prime in Son and Kane, to get the best out of both of them is a left or right wing back who's going to serve them, and it's no good. Like on the right hand side, I think you pronounce his name Jed Spence. I think it's Jed. Anyway, he's a prospect, so like you can see there's potential future planning there if we sign him. But with Perisic, it's like, come in, do the business. This is the season we're going to go for things. We needed a player, and Conte demanded a player that was ready for him to work now. And we know that Conte is probably going to be there for a year or two at most. Hopefully, fucking 10 years, whatever it might be. But realistically, you're looking at a year or 2 years. So he's going to need players that he can work with right now. He knows Perisic, and he knows that he fits in that system. He knows the system that Conte plays already. They've already got a great understanding. He has nothing to teach Perisic. He has nothing to teach him. All he's got to say is, you're playing left wing back today, you're starting, and away he goes. And imagine he's crossing into Kane and Son. We are going to be so dangerous with him. Just that transfer alone elevates us to something that we weren't last season. And that's without all the business we're going to do. It's a wicked signing. There's
a mashed up video doing the rounds on Twitter of his crossing and Kane and Son finishing up. It's really well. Have you seen it?
It's brilliant. It's by. Is it? I can't remember if it's by. You give him credit. I'm not sure it's by, but he's perfect. And there are a lot of Arsenal fans going, "Well, he's 33, he's old. You're buying geriatrics." They are rattled. They're so worried by what's going on at Spurs at the moment. And as I said at the start, turn down Chelsea, turn down Juve, and turn down Inter Milan to come to Tottenham Hotspur. What a world we live in now.
So he on his age, he reached the top speed of 21 miles an hour in European matches this season, higher than any Spurs squad player. So that includes like Sonny. You know what I mean? Like that he's
rapid as well.
Yeah, age is not an issue with him. And his stats again, like 254 games, 55 goals, 49 assists, the versatility as well. And last season played over 40 games, 10 goals, 9 assists. So like you said, he'll just slot in and do the business.
He's quality. It's a great sign. I'm really, really excited.
Or another one, how are you feeling on Fraser Forster?
I think I've always liked the look of him. I always thought he was a good goalkeeper. He spreads himself massively. Good shot stopper. Would I be happy if we signed him for our number one for the next 2 years? No. Am I absolutely happy and content with him being our number two? Yeah. Is he better than Galini? Yes. Yeah. So it makes complete sense. A free transfer. He's going to be on 30 grand, 40 grand a week. You won't find a better number two than Forster.
Yeah.
You just won't, unless you're someone like Arsenal. To be fair, they've got a good number two in Leno. But how long is he going to want to stay there? Is Ramsdale even that good? I'm not sure. So the only other comparison would be Henderson and De Gea at Man United, and they're not going to be happy to sit there. So you have to have a competent number two who could come in and do a good job. Get him on a free I think it solves a problem that could become a genuine issue if Lloris ever gets injured.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the worry again towards the end of last season, was like in those games that we had to win. If Lloris gets injured, I did not trust Galini to keep us in games. So.
Yeah, no one did. Yeah, you're right.
As you said, it solves a problem because we don't need to replace Hugo right now. Like he's got a good 3 or 4 years at this level.
Well, he's got another. So he signed. 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years extension from this summer. So yeah, it's another 2 years. Yeah.
Yes, it's not. So bringing Forster in is the correct thing to do. You don't have to think about who's going to replace Lloris because you've got your 1 and 2 there sorted for the next 2 years. So it's something that we don't have to think about. And it was done and dusted straight away. It wasn't that part that potential issue in our squad has been solved. The left wing back issue has been solved. And then we can look at and not only just solved, actually really smashed out the park on the left-hand side. So, it's interesting. It's good.
Another player we've been linked with to look at perhaps replacing Ben Davies, who had an excellent season. But again, we got to look to up the level. Bastoni from Italy. I'm not a huge follower of the Italian league, but I've seen the stats. Not one mistake or not one goal that led to a mistake by him or something in 4 years or 3 years.
I've seen that, and the same thing's been sort of thrown at Eric Dyer, but we've seen Eric Dyer not defend well and concede before Conte, so I'm not sure how much we can hold in that. He is from the YouTube videos that I've watched, he looks fantastic. The most important part of it, we're all presuming he can defend, and surely he can, because he plays for the national team. And is a mainstay in Milan's defence, but he's on the left-hand side. We don't have any cover for Ben Davies, and if we sign him, he goes in above Ben Davies, and Ben Davies is our cover, which is a shame because he's been fantastic. But he'll get many games next season, because should Bastoni come in, we could play upwards of 55 to 60 games next year if we do well. So we're going to need these players. It's about improving the first 11, but knowing that the players that really served us well in the second part of last season will have a role to play. I can't say anything other than what I've watched on YouTube, as I just said, but he's a ball playing left-sided full centre back. And if you look at what Conte's done with Ben Davies, Sanchez, Romero, and what he asks of them, what their role is when we have possession, to be adventurous and to go forward and to hurt teams. We've seen Sanchez get into the box late on. We've seen Davies and Romero push in, and we've also seen the wing backs get involved in attack. So the role isn't simply about defending; it's about how do you contribute to the team going forwards. And Bastoni's game is completely built around that. His left foot is a wand. He's a unit as well. He's like 6'1".
Big, yeah.
He's like, I've never, honestly, I didn't know a thing about him really before this season, but I really, really, really want him.
And there's money to get him as well. Like, if we carry on being smart with the freebies. Speaking of freebies, a couple of quick fire ones. Eriksen and Bale, yes or no to either?
So this doesn't help the conversation, but whatever Conte wants. If he wants them, bring them in. If not, then don't. My feeling is that as much as I'd want to see Bale play at White Hart Lane in front of the fans again, I'm not sure if Gareth Bale being at the football club pushes us forward significantly. I'm not sure about that. Eriksen has been wonderful at Brentford, and he's played under Conte before, so you can see that. But where does he fit in a 3-4-3?
But I think that's the fact that he can mix it up, because sometimes can be, and so he could be that. Like, he doesn't fit in the sort of holding midfielders. That's not his game, and he's not one of the wing backs, and he's not one of the forward three either. So, but if we need to switch it up, if we've got a team sitting deep, we need a bit more creativity from midfield. Yeah. Then it makes sense. If he wants to come, I'd take him back. He didn't leave under the worst circumstances. We saw in the doc he wanted to go, and he'd been there a long time. He was entitled to do that. But yeah, for me, I mean,
if you're saying to me that we sign Perisic, Eriksen, and Bale on free transfers, I'm taking that all day. It's just we don't know as fans. We don't understand or cannot conceive of how good a player can be or how shit they might be once they arrive. So we just have to trust in Conte and Paratici that we're bringing in the right players. Like he's a Juve central midfielder, US
McKennie.
Yeah, so he's been linked, and I got a message just before we started recording from I always refer to him as my mate in Italy, who's someone I know who's a big Napoli fan, and he's saying that we shouldn't sign him. He's not very good. But he also said that Kulusevski and Bentancur weren't very good. So I'm really, if Conte wants him and has earmarked him, then just get him in. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. He could want, if Conte said, let's get Danny Murphy out of fucking retirement, get him away from Coventry and bring him in because I think he could do a job, I'd be like, whatever you want, mate. Whatever you want. It's time to trust. And I think we all are completely and entirely on the Conte gravy train.
Yeah, because we can see how he's improved the players that are at the club already. The likes of Doherty and Emerson. Emerson, bless him, like he was getting even in the Brazil Spurs WhatsApp group, getting pelters. And now, like, you're not nervous when he's on. You're like, all right, he can do a job. There's way to improve, but he's come on so far since Conte came in because he's coaching them. So Weston McKennie may not be great at the moment? Because Allegri is at Juve. I'm fairly sure it's Allegri. It's not Conte.
It is, yeah. Play it different. You need so many components that are outside of your ability as a footballer to work and help you. And that might be the players you're playing with, the tactics that your manager wants you to do, your relationship with the manager, feeling comfortable in your surroundings, not being homesick, having a home life that's good and productive. All of those things lead into having to perform at 100% against the 0.1 percentile of professional footballers. Everything has to work for you. And maybe it hasn't worked for McKennie in Juve. Maybe there is an opportunity for Spurs to take advantage of that. It didn't work for Kulusevski. It didn't work for Bentancur. Kulusevski was decent off the bench for Juve, but they never trusted in him because they probably had players in reputation and probably in what you'd conceive to be ability ahead of him. But he's come to Spurs and the shoe fits. You've got Conte who believes in him. Conte wanted him in Inter Milan. Practically blocked that transfer from Inter Milan to from Juventus to Inter Milan, so that because he didn't want to strengthen one of his rivals. Now we find ourselves with Conte as the head coach at Spurs and Paratici as director of football, and both of them love that player. Bring him over and look at what he's done. So you cannot, short of signing Ian Dowie or some sort of clogger up top, you're thinking, what can we do? Which has been the case at Spurs in the past, where I remember we signed Ronnie Rosenthal, who actually was all right, but we had no one else because the injuries were so significant. Short of having to be desperate, and Spurs are not desperate, it's all about knowing the player and then giving them the opportunity to excel. And perhaps McKennie would be. Was it McKennie? McKenna? Sorry.
Yeah, Weston McKennie. Yeah.
McKennie, yeah. Perhaps he could come and do a job. But you've got to remember that we've got Bentancur, Højbjerg, and got Skip. Those are going to be our 3 starters next season.
Yeah.
So what is he an upgrade on Winks? Probably. And if so, it's fine.
Yeah, well, I think we got a few Americans in the pod and listeners as well, and so they're quite cocksure about the World Cup. I mean, I think maybe this one's a bit too soon for them, but the US national team, they've got a lot of good young players, and McKennie's a part of that. So we'll see how he does at the World Cup. On the outgoings, mentioned Winks. So if we had to choose 3 players that you think will be showing the door. Well, I mean, 2 of them are quite easy, and it's Lo Celso and Ndombele. But so
if you remove them, I would say Winks. I would say, and I hate to say it, but I think Reguilon, now that Perisic has signed, you don't need 3. You don't need 3 fullbacks or 3 left wing backs. Reguilon has value, so you can understand why you would go. I do really like him. I think there is a player in there, but we may have seen the best that he can offer. And honestly, if he was our starting full left wing back next season, if we hadn't signed Perisic and Sessegnon was injured and he started, I wouldn't feel no way about it. I'd be fine with it. But yeah, Reguilon, there's value there. I mean, we could probably get 20-25 million pound for him. And bearing in mind, every pound that we recover from any transfer goes back into the transfer pot because of this injection of money, then maybe you make the sensible decision to sell Reguilon. You're certainly not going to sell Sessegnon because it feels like under this current system that and management that they rate him. And he was really, really good towards the end of the season and really good before he got injured before that as well. So Sessegnon seems to be the guy. Perisic is going to play, so he has to learn from Perisic and become a better player. So that leaves no room for Reguilon. So you sell him because there's value there. That makes complete sense. If that happens, you look at it and going, yeah, they're running the club correctly. Winks, I don't know if we're going to get a fee for him. Maybe someone comes in and offers a free transfer. We agree. Or maybe we get £10 million out of him. It's not value there. It's just making sure that you haven't got a player who deserves to be playing elsewhere because he's good enough to play in the Premier League, just nowhere near good enough to be in the top four side. I
think Sanchez. I think there's value in Sanchez, but he hasn't put a foot wrong recently, though. But we've seen him just not have the awareness, as we have with Dyer. So, but I think we could probably get close to our money back from Sanchez, selling him to Spain.
I agree. It all depends on who comes in. So if we don't sign another centre back, then you definitely do not sell him.
You need to hold him, yeah.
So we've got 3 centre backs. We need 3. You need 5 centre backs that are going to be able to fill in regardless of what happens in the Premier League. We currently have Dyer, Sanchez, and Ben Davies, who you would truly trust. And then, Dyer, Romero, and Davies, who you'd fully trust. Like that would be your starting back 3. And then you've got Sanchez, who's close behind. If we sign Bastoni, then you've got Bastoni, you've got Dyer, you've got Ben Davies, Romero, and Sanchez. Now that feels a lot more comfortable. You also have Rodon, who can probably come in and do a job as well. But the problem is that, or the issue that needs to be solved, and I don't think it gets solved by selling Sanchez, is you've got 3 players there that are all important in what Conte does. So we need 6 centre-backs. And selling Sanchez doesn't make any sense if that is the case. So if it isn't Sanchez, then we have to pick one more. So we've got Reguilon, Winks,
Lucas.
I would say, yeah. And I hate to say it because I absolutely adore the guy. But yeah, if we sign another forward, which it seems like we're going to do, like there's going to be plans to bring in a big name forward with Kulusevski there already, I don't think there's room for him. So there's value there. He wants to go back to Brazil. I don't know how much money there is in Brazilian football and how much we'd get from it. But even if it's, maybe a few million and taking his name off the wages. But if we sold him to England, if he was willing to stay and we sold him to Southampton or Brighton or another team that might want him, Brighton wouldn't want him, but another team that might want him, you might get £15 million. That's about what he wants. And he deserves, I think Lucas Moura deserves to be able to dictate what happens next in his life.
Yeah. I did this thing, like his media manager or like his press officer got in touch with Brazil Spurs to get someone to do some Zoom stuff. So I did that for Lucas. And
what did you do it with him?
Yeah, well, he sent me. It was me and his press officer. He sent me like a video message saying, "Hey, Brendan, thanks for this." So I didn't like interact with him, but it kind of with Lucas. Ignoring the political stuff, because I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, so if you like Bolsonaro, fuck it. Like he won an election. There's lots of people in Brazil that like Bolsonaro.
Yep.
I emailed Windy about it and sort of said, give him a break. And when he's like, and he sent me a message saying, "Oh, have you seen his Twitter likes?" And I was like, first of all, I didn't know that they had that function on Twitter, and I was like checking my likes, what dirty shit I've fucking. and yeah, there's a lot of political quasi-transphobe stuff and mocking of the assassination of a gay black political activist called Marielle, who was murdered by a gang related to the Bolsonaro family. So I kind of left that. I can't think of Lucas and not think of that. So I was like, I felt a bit like I'd sold myself out a bit doing the stuff for Lucas for his social media stuff, but anyway.
I mean, life makes hypocrites of us all, mate. I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think if you dig deep into anybody's political ideals, especially footballers, then you probably won't like what you see. I understand that that's a different thing with Lucas Moura, but mate, honestly, as a Spurs fan, there's enough for me to give a shit about in this world. I can't give a shit about what one of our footballers fucking likes on Instagram. I couldn't care less.
Yeah. So let's look ahead to the new season. Do you reckon there's the possibility that Kane signs his new contract? Or do you think that he'll play it out? He's already earning decent wage, getting his bonuses. He'll play out his 2 years. And at the end of that 2 years, he can take his pick. Or do you think that with Conte sticking around, if Conte signs an extension, would Kane follow suit?
I think if right now, if I was Kane, I wouldn't sign a new contract. I would just wait and see what happens with Conte, because it feels like a short-term thing, and see what happens. And if Kane doesn't sign a new contract, or if Conte is going to stay and can't convince him, then we have to sell Kane next summer. Signing him
for the 2 years and let him go on free. You think that we could get value?
No. I probably. Sorry. I probably would. I probably would let him run down his contract, and just sort of live with it and enjoy his performances at Spurs, because they're going to be fantastic over the next 2 years. If we decide to sign him on a new contract, that's a huge amount of money, a huge, like massive. It's like signing another player basically. So it restricts what we can do elsewhere. But if you have the option to make sure that he plays every good bit of his football at Tottenham for the rest of his career, and that is, we're talking 4 or 5 years still, then 100% take it, because you're not finding another striker around like him. We will never see another striker as good as him at Spurs in all of our lives. Never. My dad says he's and bearing in mind he started watching Spurs in 61 and saw Jimmy Greaves do everything he did at Spurs. He said that Harry Kane is hands down the best striker we've ever had in the history of our football club. So we're never going to get that back. So it's about appreciating that eventually it's going to go. If we can extend it out for as long as we can, then definitely keep him. But the club's bigger than any player, and if he wants to leave, if he feels like it's the right thing for him, then fucking go and prosper, whatever it is. But we will remain, and we will be somewhat triumphant. But the question was whether or not you'd want him to sign. Yeah, I think we definitely need to go for it. And if Conte sticks around, then Kane's sticking around, because Kane wanted ambition. He wanted to leave to go to Manchester City because of ambition. And if Conte shows that by staying and Kane stays as well, then that's all the ambition he needs, and the players we're bringing in and the money that's been injected. What else could he want? There's no club in the world that would love Harry Kane as much as he's loved by Tottenham, and the same goes for Conte right now. There's no team and no fan base out there that adores Conte as much as Tottenham fans right now. He can do no wrong, and so the time is right for both of them to fully commit to the future, but we'll see what happens.
I think, and also the feeling, like when we do win something, and we will win something, that feeling for Kane will be so much better than just going to City and winning shit there that they'll just win anyway because they've got endless money. Like the feeling he will have, and I think someone must have spoken to him about this as well, just saying, look, stick around at Spurs, because when you do win something, and you will win something with Conte, that feeling, it will be 10 times what it would be at City.
100%. It means nothing going to City and being a part of a tiny cog in a machine that will always conquer. There's no value in that really at all. They've got all the money they can spend. So do something that actually means something. And winning a trophy at Spurs means so much more than winning an FA Cup or a league title at Man City, because that's what you expected. Like, no one's going to go, oh, well done, Kane, you've finally done it. Some people might, and Sky Sports certainly will say that stuff. But as fans of the game, which are the lifeblood of the game, we're looking at it and going, you're the best striker in the league, and you signed for the best team in the league. What do you expect?
Yeah. On that, I know we've been going for a while now. So last question for you before we wrap up.
No.
Can we win the league next season?
What do you want me to say? My gut feeling is no, we cannot win the league next season.
We are already the third best team in the league. We're already the third best team. We've won more games than Chelsea. Since Conte's game, we've won more points than Chelsea. We're the third best team. So they're already there. I'm
not worried about Chelsea. I'm not worried about Chelsea at all. And do you know what? I'm not worried about Liverpool, because they've got stuff they've got to solve this week. It's not about building for them. They've got to deal with this Mane situation. It looks like he really wants to go to Bayern Munich. Salah has said that he'd be willing to sign for one of their Premier League rivals, which is not what you want to hear at all. Does not fit into Klopp's mechanic of us all together pushing in the same direction. They've got stuff that they've got to solve over there. Man City have just signed Haaland. They're just a machine that just plods on and on and on, and it's hard to deal with. Do you know what? Actually, fuck it. I'm going to revise my statement or my answer to that. We can win the league if we buy So right, you've asked me this question when we just signed Perisic. That's all we've signed, and we need 2 or 3 that really improve our team, and we need to be lucky with injuries. In that instance, we will challenge for the league title. Can we win it? Yes. It feels good. My brain tells me that Man City are going to be so good next season that it's going to be difficult. That said, they were good this season. We beat them twice. So who the fuck knows? Yeah, we can win it. We can win it, Brendan.
We can. We just got to be that bit more consistent. Conte's he's not coming here for top 4. He wants to win the fucking league. He's not. That is what he's used to, and I think that the demanding, or that sort of demanding nature that he places on himself, he'll place on the club. So we can, and like I said, it just depends on how strong the other teams are in the league to take points off of City and Liverpool to give us a chance. Depends if 95 points is what you need to win the league. I think that's probably beyond us. But if other teams chip away at their points tally the last season, I reckon we can do it. We're up there. We're up there. And like I said, this is the best time to be a Spurs fan, certainly in the last 5 years, if not more. So
yeah, 100%, mate, 100%.
Wicked. Flav, thanks for joining, my mate. Anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Well, actually, if anyone wants to listen to a podcast I've been producing since the start of lockdown, it's called No Holds Barred. It's in a series of interviews with people ordinary people that live extraordinary lives. You can find it by just going to your podcast apps and looking for No Holds Barred interviews, and you'll find it. Thank you, mate.
Cool, mate. Yeah, and also do listen out if you've not heard them already. But do listen out for the Fighting Cocks podcast. They are the goat, the top dogs. So
cheers, mate.
Thanks for joining. And Cheeseheads, do listen out. I'll be doing a few more of these through the summer. I've got Sandro lined up. My mate Sandro, Tim Dickey.
What the Sandro? Expert Sandro? What?
I'm mates with Sandro.
Hook me up.
Yeah, happy to. Oh, that's the thing, right? So he wants to come to a Spurs game with us, like with fans, as opposed to like being invited by the club and shit. He wants the full experience. So bricklayers or the Antwerp Arms or Beehive.
Oh, mate, that would be iconic.
Yeah. So it's gonna be next year. He said, like, because I don't know if you know he's been playing in Portugal the last season. And
he's still playing, is he?
Yeah, of course, he's younger than Toby. Yeah, he's 30, 33, 34.
Is that all he is?
Yeah.
Where's he been playing?
Belenenses. They were in the first division in Portugal. They actually went down this season. And he almost kept them up because he was injured for the first half when they were really shit. He almost kept them up. He was like, and I was sort of messaging him, and he was really happy that I was supporting his team out there. And but he said, like, I want to come to a Spurs game with you and the regular fans, like he said the Cheese Room guys. But so when that happens, I'll let you know, and we'll take Sandro to a game.
He's a legend. He's an absolute legend, man. I love him so much.
Yeah, my celeb mates.
And there you go. All right, mate.
Cheers, and as ever, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Do the jingle.